All right, hello and welcome back to the Carl Jackson Show. Guys, listen, obviously the debate, it was a huge debate last night, a very important debate. I have my take on the debate, but before I give you my take, and I shared some of that with Ned Ryan earlier, I want to bring in my guest. You guys know him, formerly with ABC, now with the Salem News Channel, Ken Rosato. Ken, I got to tell you, and we talked about this offline yesterday when I was co-hosting the SNC, debate coverage. And we bring you on as a guest. Now, keep in mind, Ken is a professional. I'm a little more gal fabulous. Ken knows what he's doing when he's on when we're on television. And I had completely forgotten that Ken had worked for ABC. So, Ken, before we get to some of the highlights of the debate, and we got some video, just talk to us quickly about your experience at ABC and how long you were there.
All right, I was there 20 years. I was the morning anchor for the ABC, what we call in the business O&O, the owned and operated ABC station in New York City, WABC. And when I was there up until a little over a year ago, are all in the same facility. And the studio where I did the morning show literally was down the hall from the rest of ABC corporate. It was all owned by Disney. So I spent 20 years there, and I'm not going to speak bitterly. I had a wonderful 20 years. I had a great time. And they are the monster local TV station in New York City, the number one station for all the years that I was there. And so when you walk down the street coming out of that building, everybody and their mother knew who you were. So it was a great place to work. So I can't knock, and they took care of me in every way you can define, took care of me for those 20 years. That said, you also live in the bubble that is Disney. You live in the bubble that is you're on the Upper West Side. You're getting paid stupid amounts of money to basically not even toe the company line. It's not like somebody's going to pull you aside and say, hey, you're not saying our politics. But you live it. You're around people who have a certain political ilk. You're on the Upper West Side, as I mentioned. They all go to the same gyms, go to the same restaurants, speak the same language. So while it is not a coordinated mindset from the top, what it is a lifestyle that all the people who live in that same community sort of abide by. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it makes perfect sense. Makes perfect sense. Okay, so all right, so this makes total sense after seeing the debate last night. I'll be honest with you. I was really upset last night, and I was upset, frankly, with Trump. I felt like there were some knockout blows that he could have served to Kamala Harris that would have effectively sealed the deal for the election. However, I wake up to other commentary. I wake up to reading some articles, and a lot of people were more upset with the moderators. It seemed to me. And then I was like, okay, so it wasn't, I felt like Kamala Harris had edged Donald Trump out, but I'm like, okay, maybe it wasn't as bad as I thought it was. And, as the news goes on, it certainly doesn't seem like it. But what was so clear and what was so obvious was that ABC, David Muir, Lindsey Davis were completely on Kamala Harris's side. I don't think I thought they made Candy Crawley look like a piker. She seemed so fair and neutral to me in comparison to these two.
Yeah. Well, and let me say this. Look, I haven't spoken to either David or Lindsay in probably 2 years, but I will tell you that personally off the air, they're really cool people. They're nice people.
Sure.
On the air, I think they both sort of felt the weight of the world to try to be the let's expose Trump for all the evil he is. They literally were in the orange man bad mentality. Again, I'm not speaking now as if I spoke to them an hour ago. It's been years since I've talked to them. So I'm telling you just as an observer, just like you. What I sensed was that they felt it. I mean, it looked like there was a mission. This felt like a 3-on-1. I'm sure you felt the same.
Sure.
That does not excuse Donald Trump for literally looking at every time somebody shined a light over here. He was like a dog that went after the light. Stop. You knew what the mission was, Donald Trump, former President Trump. And what you did was every time somebody led you astray, you went there. You went there. And you can imagine the people who tried to prepare him for the debate just grabbing their hair saying, what are you doing? Now, all that said, I will say this. I think it felt a lot worse for us than the average person. And I say this only because I watched CNN, MSNBC, Fox, Us. I watched the other three-letter networks today. And amazingly, many of the so-called independents whom they interviewed said a lot of the same stuff. And it was very pro-Trump. Yes. And their attitude, I was shocked. I was stunned like you. Look, I'm giggling. I'm like, really? You saw something I didn't see. So the good news here is maybe America's finally waking up and realizing we're not hiring a party planner. We're looking to hire the leader of the free world. And I think enough Americans are starting to wake up to that.
You know, Ken, and I think you hit the nail on the head. I mean, when I watched that debate, I was like, okay, Donald Trump underperformed. I tweeted this out. Kamala Harris outperformed my expectations. Basically, ABC News was in the tank for Kamala Harris. It's still a jump ball. But I'm not so sure. I'd like to see. We'll have to take a look at the polling in a week or two. But I'm not so sure, just based upon the same things that you said. I mean, I read this article from Reuters, and I heard part of the back and forth with the commentator or the reporter or what have you. And I was shocked to find that so many people did not buy what Kamala Harris was selling because she was still so vague. And I'm sitting there and I'm looking at this stylistically and I'm like, Trump, knock her out right now with question number one. Are you better off than you were 4 years ago? As a matter of fact, let's play that. And then I want to get your reaction to it. This is video clip number 5. If we could go to that, Gabe, I want to get Ken's reaction to it. Let's go ahead and roll it, por favor.
When it comes to the economy, do you believe Americans are better off than they were 4 years ago?
So I was raised as a middle-class kid, and I am actually the only person on this stage who has a plan that is about lifting up the middle class and working people of America. I believe in the ambition, the aspirations, the dreams of the American people. And that is why I imagine and have actually a plan to build what I call an opportunity economy. Because here's the thing. We know that we have a shortage of homes and housing, and the cost of housing is too expensive for far too many people. We know that young families need support to raise their children, and I intend on extending a tax cut for those families of $6,000, which is the largest child tax credit that we have given in a long time, so that those young families can afford to buy a crib, buy a car seat, buy clothes for their children.
Okay. So she couldn't answer the question right out. And by the way, she stole the idea, whether you agree with it or not, that the $6,000 tax credit, some conservatives don't agree with that. But she stole that idea from Trump. And then she didn't answer the question. The answer was very simple, or the question was very simple. People are saying, are you better off than you were, 4 years ago? It's just no. People are not better off. Your
clearly,
take,
if I may, she knew she had to come up with something else. Ronald Reagan's old rule was, in a debate, and as Ronald Reagan, remember, started out a Democrat and then became a Republican. In a debate, you answer the question you want to answer. In other words, whatever they ask you, just, but, and then move on. And that's exactly what Ronald Reagan used to do so masterfully. And he used to say with that little, well, and just move on like he, and so she did actually a very good job in terms of obfuscating, cutting off, moving along. But I don't know if you followed Jake Tapper or as former President Obama used to call him Jacob Tapper. Jake Tapper, who also used to work at ABC at one point, Jake Tapper literally excoriated Kamala Harris, ripped her apart. It's like a 7-minute clip that's on X where he went down the line for all the things she did not answer. He tore her apart. I would suggest you go check out Jacob Tapper's site on X and take a look at it. You will be pleasantly surprised.
I got to tell you, I've never looked forward to seeing anything by Jake Tapper, but now you got me curious. So I will make sure that I check that out. Again, I'm speaking with Ken Rosato, formerly with WABC News in New York. Now he's with the Salem News Channel, and we are talking about the debate last night. And again, I think it's a great point, Ken. We only have about 40 seconds left in this block. Ken is going to stay with me for another block, but I'm happy to say, or at least it seems that you're right, that there's people like you and I that focus on this stuff heavily. And then there's average Americans, that regular Americans, I should say, that just want to get along with their lives, and then they'll check into politics. And apparently they didn't see the same debate that I saw, because, Ken, last night I had an afro. So today I'm bald. I was just pulling. I was pulling my hair.
I got news for you. Last night I had an afro too. So look what happened.
All right, listen. When we get back, we'll talk about the debate, more post-debate coverage. I'm Carl Jackson with my friend Ken Rosato. We'll be back in a few. Hello, guys. This is Carl Jackson here for Priority Gold. Economists warn that massive tax hikes could devastate your IRA and your 401k account as the stock market braces for impact. With inflation on the rise and global uncertainty looming, it's clear why central banks and savvy Americans are turning to gold. In times like this, Proverbs 21:20 reminds us to preserve what we've built. Right now, that wisdom points us towards gold. If you haven't had your eye on gold, it's time to make it a priority. Again, I'm Carl Jackson, and I'm urging you to call my friends at Priority Gold to find out how they can help you diversify your savings with physical gold and silver. Call 1-800-405-GOLD or visit PriorityGold.com/golden for a free gold info guide. Plus, see if you qualify for free shipping and storage. Act now to get your portfolio working for you while the market is golden. Again, call 1-800-405-GOLD to speak with a gold specialist or visit PriorityGold.com/golden to learn more. That's 1-800-405-GOLD. Hey guys, Carl Jackson here. You've asked and MyPillow has listened. They're finally bringing you the most requested offer ever. So right now you can get the queen size premium MyPillow for just $19.98. MyPillow is made with a patented adjustable feel. It adjusts to your exact individual needs regardless of your sleep position. It helps to keep your neck aligned, and it holds its shape all night long so you get the best sleep of your life. And don't forget, it keeps you cool as well, which I love. But that's not all. You can get their 6-piece kitchen or bath house sets for just $25. The brand new mattress topper for as low as $69.98. And their famous MyPillow bed sheets for as low as $25, and so much more. Go to MyPillow.com or give them a call at 800-858-0263. Use the promo code CARL, C-A-R-L, I don't spell it like the communists, to get huge discounts on all MyPillow products, including the premium queen-size pillow for only $19.98. That's the lowest price ever. Don't delay. Order today. Use promo code CARL at checkout. All right, welcome back to the Carl Jackson Show, guys. Obviously, we're remembering 9/11 as well. So I want to get Ken's take on that. Again, I'm speaking with Ken Rosato, formerly of WABC News in New York, now with the Salem News Channel. We're absolutely happy to have him on the team. But obviously, listen, this is a very somber week as well. We're talking about the debate. We're giving our analysis, and I'm going to go back to some video clips shortly. But just real quickly here, just give us your take, what you remember from 9/11. Ken, you were in New York.
Well, actually, I was in Miami at the time. It was just before I got to New York. I'm from New York, but I worked briefly for CBS in Miami. And that particular morning, I was anchoring the morning show on WFOR, which is the CBS-owned station in Miami. And I was sitting on the set, and from 5 to 7, we would be on live locally, and from 7 to 9, the national show would be on. And back then, Bryant Gumbel was the host on the national CBS show. And Bryant had a guest on who was promoting a book. What would happen is we would do local cut-ins of news in between I guess it was called the early show back then. And so I was sitting on set waiting to do the local cut-in, and Brian Gumbel was on the monitor. And I remember looking up and seeing smoke coming out of the World Trade Center building and thinking, missing home, because it's like the first time I was ever away from the New York area. And I remember calling the whole staff in and saying, hey guys, they're showing a split screen with smoke coming out of the World Trade Center. And everybody, most of the people in Miami are from New York. It's hysterical. So they all came running in, and they assumed there was a little fire up there, and it was early in the morning, and probably nobody at work, and no big deal. They'll take care of it. There's fire suppression in the building. Then they started talking about, the guests started saying, I think that was a plane. It looked like it might have been a plane. And I remember hearing Bryant Gumbel saying, well, until we can confirm that, don't say it was a plane. Meanwhile, the rest of the world knew it was a plane at that point. Bryant was like on another page. Then, while he was live on the air with a split screen, and they had the video trained on the World Trade Center live, that was in the second plane. This was after 9, the second plane hit. And the guest said, Bryant, that was a second plane. Bryant had been looking down at his notes and missed it. And literally, Bryant Gumbel said, he looked up and said, don't say that. We can't confirm. Meanwhile, it was like one of those things. Who are you going to believe, me or your own lying eyes? The whole world just saw it. And poor Bryant, he's another very nice man. Poor Bryant missed it. And I kind of felt for him in that moment because he was looking at his notes. He was trying to do his job.
Right.
Somebody must have gotten in his ear. But it was at that moment that I literally thought I was sick to my stomach. And that's when I realized, oh, my God, you could see it was a big jet. And that's when we all realized the world had changed at that moment. Let me just finish with this and say 23 years later, okay, and the first 23 years, all the New York TV stations, because they had to cover it, all of their transmitting antennas were on the World Trade Center. So they all got knocked off the air and they had to figure out ways to get back on the air during the crisis. It was horrifying. I did come up at one point for CBS and covered it from New York for them. So what ended up happening was today, 23 years later, what was really sad, I won't call them out, but one of the local TV stations in New York decided that 9/11 is just old hat. And they decided not only not to lead with it, but they didn't put the story on. This is a New York City owned TV station by one of the networks. They didn't put 9/11 coverage on until about 7 minutes in. Like it was just an after, like in other news, 9/11 is today.
Right.
Really? Meanwhile, for 23 years, we've been saying never forget. And how on earth do you bump it down? They put the debate first. And then once they did all their comprehensive debate coverage, then they got to 9/11 when they got to it. All the other stations had 9/11 as the lead. Only one station, and I will not call them out out of respect, but people who are in the industry know who they are, and that station should be ashamed for doing that. That's just disgusting.
Well, I got to be honest with you, Ken, and I want to get back to the post-debate analysis here, but at the same token, it is frustrating, but because I do feel like a lot of Americans have forgotten, and I was speaking earlier with my guest Ned Ryan, and frankly, with our open border situation, I'm concerned that we might experience another one. We were so unified during that period of time as Americans. We're so divided now. I hope and pray that we don't have to experience, our kids, grandkids don't have to experience what we experience, but I fear they will, simply because so many people have forgotten. The Biden-Harris open border policies are terrifying me. But we shouldn't forget, America is a great country, but we do have enemies, and we need to remember that. And we also obviously remember the fallen and the family members that still, obviously there was a memorial today, and we have to never forget what happened, or surely it will happen again. Sadly, but that's where we are. All right, Ken, it's hard to jump from that and go back to the debate, but we only have a few minutes left with you. And so I wanted to get your take on a couple of things. Let's go to this. This is video clip number 5, Gabe. This is Kamala Harris with David Muir back in 2019 when it comes to gun control. Let's go ahead and run that, por favor.
In recent days, former Vice President Biden has said about executive orders, some really talented people are seeking the nomination. They said, I'm going to issue an executive order. Biden saying there's no constitutional authority to issue that executive order when they say I'm going to eliminate assault weapons, saying you can't do it by executive order any more than Trump can do things when he says he can do it by executive order. Does the vice president have a point there?
Some things you can, many things you can't.
Let's let the senator answer.
Well, I would just say, hey, Joe, instead of saying no, we can't, let's say yes, we can.
Let's be constitutional. We got a constitution.
And yes, we can.
Wow. I had forgotten that David Muir was in that debate. And again, I know the guy personally, but it seems to me that would have been an easy fact check.
Right. He and Lindsay
him.
were awfully quiet during that point last night, weren't they?
I mean, it's unbelievable. Again, I mean, it was 3-on-1. Again, personally, I'm sure he's a nice guy, but I do believe you drink some of that ABC water or you get that ABC paycheck, and for some reason you forget some of the questions you asked to presidential candidates in the past. Here's another one that I'd like to play. This is clip number 13, Gabe. This is Rick Santelli going off on all of the things that the ABC moderators did not ask of Kamala Harris regarding the economy. Let's go ahead and roll that. Number 13, please.
Let me just ask then, since we're on the topic, Rick, how you feel about tariffs?
You know how I feel about tariffs? It's a bargaining chip. And many of the tariffs with China are still on. Once again, the moderators don't drill down on the two aspects of tariffs, but they do drill down on other areas that make no economic sense whatsoever.
But you don't think the tariffs raise prices? Just as a mathematical economic...
Listen, prices are going up no matter what, Andrew. Whether you do it on the tax side, whether you do it on the tariff side, our policies are silly. We can't be Santa Claus. All those programs aren't policies, they're promises that never get by Congress, and each one of them has a cost we can't afford because we've done this before. When you prepay and you make policies that don't make economic sense, you may think you're getting a benefit. Look at what we learned yesterday. Finally, wages reach 2019, but it doesn't reflect how much they've gone up since 2019. If you're out there and you're a young person, study up. You know, study up. All these superstars that made recommendations in such a timely...
Let's cut it there because this video goes on for quite some time. But you get the gist. You get the gist here. We only have about a minute and a half left. I mean, that's a great answer. That's just a great answer, and I wish the moderators would have touched on the economic policies that will devastate middle class Americans. Ken.
Yeah, you know, Democrats love to promise lollipops and puppy dogs, and it would be wonderful, but there are certain realities here. Otherwise, the entire universe would be rich and having their feet massaged every day and having food just brought to them on silver platters. There is a certain reality. Money is finite unless we do something to generate it. Republicans wisely, by lowering taxes and getting rid of restrictions, Republicans allow the system, the engine that is capitalism, to produce more wealth. Democrats look at it as getting in the way, and they love to be confiscatory, take the wealth away from these evil people who make it, and let the government disperse the money as they wish. The problem is they run out of it because they don't generate the engine.
All right. So listen, again, I'm speaking with Ken Rosato of Salem News Channel, formerly with WABC and CBS too. Yeah. I'm learning, man.
I worked for all of them at one point.
All right. All of them. Okay. So Ken has got some, well, he's got some serious experience and some good wisdom when it comes to the news business. So we're honored to have you. But I wanted to bring Ken on. I wanted him to give you a perspective of what it's like behind the veil of ABC, because let's be honest, they don't have to tell the moderators what to do. It's basically left wing. You're under that umbrella, and you kind of live in a bubble. You make lots of money, and you don't want to rock the boat. Guys, listen, thank you, Ken. I appreciate you guys tuning in to the Carl Jackson Show. And until next time, do not grow weary doing good. God bless you.